Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
Hey everyone, this is my first time posting here, but I've got a story that happened to my father while he was out making deliveries for either Uber Eats or DoorDash. To be honest, I'm not sure which one it was, but that doesn't really matter for the story. So my dad went to this TGI Fridays or something like that, and he parks in one of the spots that are designated for these drivers. It just so happens that he parked in the last spot available for drivers like him. Now cue the entitled woman. She approached my father's car and knocked on his window. When he rolled it down, the following conversation occurred. You just took my spot. No, this spot is for Uber Eats and DoorDash, and that's what I'm doing here. Well, I was going for that spot, and you took it from me. And the arguing went on like this for a minute until she smacked him over a parking spot. Now, before I go on, let me give you a little backstory about my father. It's important to know that he's ex-military, and I was born in a military hospital and he served for a total of 8 years. So, can you imagine this bigger guy getting smacked by a woman? Oh, and did I mention he has his concealed carry permit? Well, you can imagine he didn't like getting smacked, and he decided to pull his pistol, which always keeps on his hip. I'm not sure what kind of gun it is, but he has no problem making it known he has it. He pointed it at the entitled person with the safety on, instructing her to back away from him and his car. Of course, instead of doing so, this lady flipped her crap, yelling and calling the police. Yes, she called the police as she stood behind his car, stopping him from going anywhere, and drew a crowd as she screamed about the gun. The police showed up and separated the two. They got stories from both of them. My father showed them that he had his concealed carry permit, his gun was registered, and no wrongdoing was done. And the cop even asked my father if he wanted to press charges for assault. Of course, my father said yes because this woman had just put him through a bunch of unnecessary bull crap. This whole incident happened on a Friday, so that lady had to spend the entire weekend in jail, all over a parking spot. Hey there! It's time for a tale of pro-revenge, where I turn the tables on an entitled mom and her bratty daughter who tried to steal my beloved dog. This story is about my journey to reclaim my furry friend D and the satisfying consequences that followed. To give you some context, it all started back in February of this year when one of my close friends and co-workers, whom we will refer to as Susan, approached me with a unique offer. She had a dog named D and she adored her but felt guilty because D wasn't getting the attention she deserved amidst her other 3 dogs. So Susan asked if I'd be interested in buying D. I couldn't resist the idea, but I wanted to ensure D felt comfortable with me, so I decided to spend time with her regularly for a couple of months. From February through April, I visited D almost every day, getting to know her and letting her get familiar with me. Day by day, I fell more in love with her. To show my commitment, I made monthly $100 payments towards her purchase, and in June, I finally took her home. The instant she set her paws in my house, everyone in my family, including my other pets, welcomed her with open arms and hearts. Fast forward to November and things started to take a nosedive. My landlord decided to pay a surprise visit to inspect the property and, much to my despair, found out that I had D living with me. He promptly informed me that I couldn't keep her there. Devastated and fearing for D's future, I embarked on a frantic search for a new pet-friendly place to live while relying on friends to temporarily house D. Enter our antagonists, the entitled mom and her entitled brat. I used to be friends with the entitled brat, so I reached out to her to ask if she could watch over D during this transitional period. To my delight, she happily agreed and assured me that D could stay with him for as long as it took for me to secure a new pet-friendly home. Everything seemed fine, or so I thought. I emphasized that they should contact me if D needed anything, especially food, and both the entitled mom and brat agreed. They told me on 2 occasions that D was running low on food and I promptly supplied it. I continued to message them regularly, wanting updates and even just to see my beloved dog. However, I received no response from them. In retrospect, this should have raised red flags, but I trusted the entitled brat. As time passed, my patience wore thin. I decided it was high time to bring D back home. I messaged the entitled mom and brat to inform them of my intent to pick up D that night, and that's when all hell broke loose. The entitled mom launched into a barrage of harassment, accusing me of being selfish for wanting my dog back. She claimed that the entitled brat loved D and insinuated that I had abandoned her. She even went as far as threatening to have me arrested for animal neglect if I showed up at their house. I decided not to engage in a back-and-forth drama and opted to seek help from D's previous owners. The next day, we met up and secured D's vet records and notarized statement affirming my ownership. Armed with this evidence, we headed to the police station with all the screenshots of entitled mother ignoring my pleas for D's return. The police officer decided to accompany me to the entitled mother's residence. As we approached, I could hear D barking from inside the house, and relief washed over me. I was elated that my furry friend was still alive, as a thought had crossed my mind that she might not be well cared for. Before the police officer could utter a word, the entitled mother glanced from him to me and turned beet red. She began cussing me out, calling me selfish yet again, all because the entitled brat loved D. But at that very moment, D spotted me, pushed past the entitled mother and pulled it toward me with unbridled joy. She practically knocked me over with her exuberance, her tail wagging furiously. While I was busy showering D with love, the entitled mother started spinning a ridiculous narrative. She claimed that I had abused my dog and callously abandoned her at their doorstep, and that they never even wanted her in the first place. Needless to say, I triumphantly walked away with D in my arms, leaving a fuming entitled mother behind. We moved to our new place, and as for the entitled mother, she had to face the consequences of her actions. The entitled mother was subsequently charged with theft by taking the dog, and she spent some time behind bars. Additionally, a restraining order mandated that she stay at least 500 feet away from me and my home. Justice was served and D was safely back in our home, where she belonged. And that's how I won back my beloved dog D and got some sweet revenge against an entitled mom who thought she could steal her from me. Thanks for listening to my story, and remember, never underestimate the bond between a pet owner and their furry companion. In it, I need to add that she also got charged for child endangerment because apparently her husband hit the entitled brat. Backstory: my grandfather was born in 1920 and raised in Germany. As was the custom at the time, he was required to volunteer for the army. The first time he received his draft letter, his boss at the construction company took care of it, as they had government contracts and thus were exempt from military drafts. Unfortunately, that meant he could almost abuse his workers as slaves, as long as it was still a better option than getting sent to invade France. So Grandpa wiggled out of his job with a second letter 6 months later and became part of the second line. Basically, he came in after the fighting and fixed what the other guys shot/bombed to hell. Mostly comms and logistics stuff. Cue one playful guy who knows his job. More information here. The players: Granddad or Great Dude, a good old-fashioned prankster getting drafted. Patrol buddy, his unknown partner in crime. A jerk captain, about the lowest of officers, who actually volunteered. Hates Granddad for an unknown reason. The chief, who runs the local division and likes his easy military management desk job. All the titles converted to current-ish ranks. During his time in the military, the Great Dude group toured France, the Alps, and back over Austria. At some point, he was stationed as a patrol guard in a villa/control in southern France that they borrowed from a wealthy local. It was not uncommon for officers to sneak out a small back gate of these villa grounds to go to the local village and have some drinks. It was officially not allowed and even punishable to leave their post for leisure. But officers weren't prone to complain, and a few regular soldiers who knew they didn't want to get a beating from a vengeful officer. Cue the malicious complaints. The story. About an hour before the great dude is scheduled for guard duty, he sees a jerk captain leave for the village and starts to formulate a plan. After making a few rounds, he convinces his partner buddy to hide behind a hedge near the gate and await the return of the jerk captain. They wait there for a long time, up to the point where the partner buddy starts asking the great dude to drop it and go back on patrol before they are caught. Luckily, the great dude is his senior in age, not sure if rank, and the partner buddy doesn't have the guts to walk away. About 20 minutes before the end of their shift, the granddad hears the back gate open and goes for it. As the gate swings open and a half-drunk jerk captain walks through, the great dude jumps out in the back, quickly shouts, "Who goes there?" and fires a round in the air before keeping his weapon aimed at a stunned jerk captain. A partner buddy, realizing crap is about to go down, follows protocol and coordinates the other soldiers, running to the sound and frisks jerk captain for his papers and weapons before bringing him to the chief under armed escort, as per regulation. They arrive at the chief's office and the great dude and jerk captain are requested to explain. The great dude gets to go first and explain to the chief, "While I was on patrol duty, I heard someone coming on the ground through a small gate in the back. As per protocol, I made myself visible, shouted twice, 'Who goes there?' and as I had not yet received an answer, fired a warning shot to apprehend the intruder." The chief realizes that the great dude followed protocol to the letter and punishment would require an official explanation as to what the jerk captain was doing at the back gate. He sends the great dude back on patrol and to take the partner buddy and guard with him from his hallway. The door is barely closed when they hear Chief shouting at the jerk captain, "You jerk!" Now they, the soldiers, all know about our way to the village. "Do you know how much you screwed us officers over?" The jerk captain has sobered enough to take the earful and not make a fuss, as the alternative was a court-martial for desertion. The great dude walks away with a smile and a few promised beers from the fellow soldiers. The jerk captain becomes unwelcome in any card games among officers for the rest of their stay. I, 20 male, work with a costume character company that does children's events. My neighbor, 36 female, invited me to her daughter's 6th birthday party, where I had to come in dressed up as Elsa from Frozen. When I was away in the afternoon, one of my neighbors visited my house. My mom and neighbor are somewhat close, and in one of their discussions, my mom brought up my work. The conversation supposedly moved to her daughter's birthday and that she wanted to do something Frozen related since it's her daughter's favorite movie, and asked if I would be free that day to come in as a Frozen character. When I came back home from a friend's house, my mom told me about her conversation with the neighbor. She brought up the birthday party and I kinda shrugged and agreed since the neighbor offered $100. I called my work and told him the situation. Since my company is pretty lax with me, I asked him to borrow the Olaf costume. They told me that Olaf was reserved for a week and said I could use the Elsa costume instead. I'm kinda used to dressed up as princess characters, so I didn't feel too forced to wear the Elsa costume. Let me tell you that as a male, I have feminine features and jokingly talk to my friends about working at Femboy Hooters. Fast forward to the day of the party, everything went well and I got multiple compliments on my costume. A few of my other neighbors were there and were surprised it was me. Come to the end of the party, I asked the mother for my payment, where she dumps the "I'm short on money right now, but you could take some leftovers in one of my daughter's presents." I told her I needed the money and wasn't planning on taking her kid's gift. I felt pissed off and was about to walk home when I heard the daughter crying and saw the mother pull a toy out of her daughter's hand and try to offer it to me. I noticed a bunch of guests staring at me and the mom. I felt so embarrassed and confused in the situation. The father then came in and handed me a 20 and I just walked off. The day after, I received a bunch of texts from the neighbor berating me and saying how selfish that I was for wanting payment. And it wasn't just from the mom. Another neighbor that attended texted me saying that I should have done it out of the kindness of my heart as a person in a neighborhood. I brought this up with my mom and she was shocked and apologized to me since she told a neighbor about my job. After this event, I felt like I can't take another offer from a close family friend or family member. So I don't know, am I the jerk here? And now some comments on a post. Someone saying, you are not the jerk in this situation. You are hired to perform a job and it's entirely reasonable to expect payment for your services, especially when you agreed to attend the party for a set fee. You were upfront about your need for payment and a neighbor's initial offer was $100, not a toy or leftovers from her daughter's birthday party. It is not selfish to expect compensation for your work, and it's unreasonable for the neighbor to berate you for wanting the agreed-upon payment. Additionally, it's essential for people to respect the boundaries and professionalism of a business transaction, even if you are also a neighbor or a friend. You acted appropriately in this situation by refusing the gift and insisting on payment. Another commenter adds, not the jerk. The verbal contract was you do the job in exchange for $100. You did the job and the mother tries to pawn her debt on her child? She used an unwilling witness to twist the situation into making you look like you would take the child's birthday presents. Tell the neighbor you accepted the deal which included payment. It wasn't at any point until payment was due after the work was done that she tried conning you with leftover food and that she was the one offering her daughter's present. Be really clear about being disgusted by that last fact to the point you didn't even know how to react, as shocked. The appeal of the kindness of your heart as payment for your time and effort can fork the remaining $80 they owe you for work done. A third commenter goes with, not the jerk. There is a name for what your neighbor did to you. She lied. She promised you payment and then refused the promised payment when you fulfilled your end of the deal. You are in no way the jerk in this situation. The neighbor is getting her friends to text you in order to bully you to back off, using peer pressure to get you to back off because she knows she's in the wrong. Doing it out of the kindness of your heart should have been negotiated beforehand, not after she had agreed to pay you. Not only should you press for payment, but you should let people know what she did to you so others do not fall into the same trap.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.